Welcome to Good Business Today. I'm Whitney Fitzsimmons. Over the past 2 decades, Australia's relationship with its Asian counterparts has been critical to the nation's economic prosperity. To find out more about this, I'm joined by Kumar Parakala. Kumar Parakala, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Whitney.
So Kumar, you commented on the need for Australia to actively engage with its Asian counterparts, particularly large economies like China and Asia. Where are we at with our Asian engagement?
Whitney, there has been a lot of talk of Australia getting closer to Asia. In fact, we consider ourselves as a part of Asia. And the previous government also launched a very visionary paper called Australia in the Asian Century, as you remember. But in spite of all the discussion and the talk, the results have been fairly mixed. And the reason why I say so is, although Asia is very diverse and it's got many, many countries, the countries that are actually going to be beneficial in an economic way to Australia are countries, large economies such as China and India. Of course, Japan is also fairly large, but it is not growing at the rate at which China and India are growing. So my assertion is China and India, because of their huge population, provides Australia with a great opportunity for growth and for our own economic well-being. I think we should ensure that we are making good progress in these markets going forward. Now, as far as China is concerned, our trade has been close to $150 billion two-way as of 2013. Of which more than $100 billion is related to the resources that they buy from us, iron ore, coal, and liquid petroleum gas, and so on and so forth. The services trade in general, which in fact is a strength of Australia. Australia is really, really good as far as services are concerned, has been quite poor. And this is where the opportunity is, and that's what I would like to say, is that that opportunity still exists, and we need to do a lot more to make sure that that is materialized.
There's been a lot of attention put onto the relationship between Australia and China, and in terms of trade and those sorts of things. Do you think that the relationship between Australia and India is at risk of being overshadowed by that? And where do you see that relationship going?
I think good progress has been made in the last 12 months since the new government has come on board in relation to India particularly. Because China is such a big trading partner, $150 billion top trading partner, there is an obvious attention to be very China-centric. And for many, many years, even though there has been a recognition that India is important, it has not been in the forefront of our thinking. And often, there will be very little India-centric tangible business activity that will be happening other than the trade missions and the premiers going, the prime ministers visiting, and so on and so forth. So India has not necessarily had the same level of success in terms of trade, and there is again a huge opportunity that one can tap into as far as India is concerned. Just to give you a bit of a context here, the two-way trade between Australia and China is close to $150 billion. The two-way trade between Australia and India is $13 billion. And the trade between Australia and China has been growing. In fact, it has doubled in the last 4 or 5 years. In relation to India, the trade has significantly reduced. It was close to $18 billion in 2008 and 9, and as of 2013, it is somewhere in the vicinity of $13 billion. So the promise that has not fully materialized yet.
So we've been discussing Asia's potential growth for at least a decade. Why are we seeing such, a lag in the development of this potential, particularly in countries like India?
The promise in relation to India has not been fully realized because neither Australia nor India had each other as a priority for a very, very long time. Very recently, after Prime Minister Abbott visited India in September, the Indian Prime Minister, Modi, visited Australia after 28 years. So that is a good indication of, from a political perspective, the mutual priorities that each one of these countries enjoyed. And that's changing. It's good progress is being made. Our trade minister has been to India several times in the last 6 months. And the Indian trade minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, was also in Australia last year. So at political levels, I think there is really some good work that is happening in building the Australia-India relationship. And a good foundation has been created for our businesses to engage with India. And it's now up to our businesses to really leverage that opportunity. The issue that we have in Australia in terms of Asia is that we have, if I can say so, a huge Asian ambition with a European mindset. If you look at the morning television, Channel 9, Channel 7, we are very much obsessed with what happens in the royal family and so on and so forth. And our mind share culturally does not have as much Asia in it as it should. And that is also reflected in the business sense that if you look at our boards and our senior executive, even though Australia has almost 20% of its population originating from Asia or Asian origin, you have got very, very few board members and senior executive at the top who have either spent a significant amount of time in Asia or are of Asian heritage. So from a business perspective, my view is that if we have to develop an Asian mindset so that we understand how to do business in Asia, then we need to take certain steps within our organizations back here in Australia, and those will determine our success going forward.
So when you say Asian mindset, what do you mean by that? I mean, are you talking about, sort of speaking the language of the country, or are there other things? Are there other cultural aspects that you mean?
Whitney, it is not at all the language issue. I was quite amused when Mandarin was being introduced in Australian schools as a second language to bridge the cultural gap. Well, it may be helpful, but just learning language is in no way going to help anyone do better business with Asia. And
well, there are a lot of Australian business people that are successful over there that don't speak Mandarin.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And it's completely, I worked in Asia very recently. I've been in Australia for 25 years, but I got an opportunity to work in Asia and live in Asia, live in India for 4 years. And I realized that the way the business happens there is fundamentally different to the way we conduct our business here. So it is not only cultural awareness, it's not only, having an interest, but being there on the ground, learning how to do business.
Isn't that about, I guess, wanting to go in and do the deal and make the sort of business a success, in a sort of quick way, like they do in other countries, say European countries or the United States, And it doesn't necessarily work that way.
You're absolutely right. You know, you can't just go in, do business, make money, and get out. And you can't think in terms of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months in terms of Asia. If you're going to Asia, you need to think in terms of 2 years and 3 years time frames. Australian companies who have benefited from Asian presence, including in countries like India and China and other Asian countries, those companies have spent a significant amount of time there, and they have stopped using the traditional organizational metrics to grow their business in Asia that is used onshore, and they have now significant income coming from Asia because of those efforts. Whitney, I want to say to you that Australia, for many services, is a very saturated market, and I find many business people getting very happy with 3%, 4%, 5% growth rates. I've lived in Asia, and I have had the opportunity to manage fairly large businesses. 30 to 40% growth is unthinkable in Australia, but it is very much possible in Asia. And that is one can only achieve that level of growth if you are present on the ground, you know how to do business, you understand the culture, you are using your experience and combining that with the opportunity that is available on the ground, and you're learning. And not many Australian companies are that experienced. So I would call this Asia competence, which is seriously lacking.
When you say on the ground, though, what do you mean? I mean, do you mean moving there, staying there? In terms of interaction, like one business interacting with another, how does that work practically?
On the ground means I actually mean you want to make money from India, you want to make money in China, you want to make money in Malaysia, then relocate your people in a small way and Australians and make sure that they live there for a year or two. A good example is a number of European companies, British, German, Dutch companies, as well as American companies who have set up base in Asia, in India. They've been there for many, many years. They've been there for more than 20 years. And they have learned how the market works, and they have benefited from that, and a significant value and revenue comes from their Indian operations or Asian operations now, because they have invested and they had the foresight and the vision to build their business in a strategic manner. The issue that we have in Australia is that we become very transactional as far as our business is concerned. This is compounded with the senior executive who would like to get the money, the revenue that is that one can get from Asia, but not necessarily take the hard yards that are necessary to generate that revenue. So
it's a very Western approach.
Yeah, it's very, I would say very Australian, because Americans are not that way. I mean, I work closely with Americans. British are not like that. British would go into any market. They're all over Middle East. I mean, so it's very Australian.
So Kumar, in your view, what are the most important things that business needs to consider when they're working in Asia?
Whitney, in summary, I would like to say to create an Asia mindset, as I've mentioned, businesses need to seriously start thinking about strategic long-term return rather than tactical transactional return. The second thing that is very important is to get some on-the-ground experience. I think the boards and CEOs should hire more Asia-centric individuals in the executive at the senior level. The boards and CEOs must consider their ambitions and make sure that their internal talent pool has got the necessary skills. One of the assertions I make is the Asia competence in some of our listed companies is fairly limited. Again, you need that wisdom of people who have this experience, who have this wisdom to be able to guide the boards and the CEOs in a manner in which risks are managed in Asia, because there are lots of risks of doing business there. So that's extremely important. I believe companies should join industry bodies like ACBC, Australia-China Business Council, or AIBC, Australia-India Business Council. And there are committed individuals who are doing a tremendous job driving these organizations. The potential of these organizations is only limited by a lack of participation from large corporations who tend not to focus. So I think there is a need for large businesses to participate and then benefit through these industry bodies. And last but not least, I would say be ready to fail and learn from that experience. My motto has always been fail fast, succeed fast. And Asia is definitely a difficult market, but if you want to make money compared to a saturated market locally, then you need to be able to take those risks, be prepared, learn, and grow. I think that is the recipe for success.
Kumar Parakala, thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you, Whitney.